Hi everyone, Aaron here for Zollotech, and today Apple released iOS 26.5.2 to the public. iOS 26.5.2 is available around the world at the same time for everyone on all iOS 26 supported devices this time. However, if you're running iOS 26.6 betas or iOS 27 betas, you won't have an update as you're on a newer version, and you would need a computer in order to downgrade on a supported device. Now, if you're wondering how to install this, you can find it by going into your settings, going down to General, and then Software Update. If you're still not seeing it, go back out, go back in, or pull down to refresh and you should see the update. This update was not too big. It came in at 721.4 megabytes on the iPhone 17 Pro and was released alongside many other updates, such as iPadOS 26.5.2, macOS 26.5.2, along with iOS 26.6 Beta 3 and updates for other devices with that beta as well. Now, as far as the update, let's first take a look at the build number and then talk about what's new. So again, we'll go back to settings, then under software update, we'll tap on more details and then tap on the version number. And as you can see, the build number is 23F84. And this particular update does not have a new modem update. So there's no change there if you're on 26.5 or 26.5.1. Now, as far as any updates, well, you may have already seen this. It says this update provides security fixes for your iPhone. So it doesn't appear that there's any bug fixes in this update, no feature changes, and it's odd that Apple didn't change anything as far as that goes. No mention of battery updates, fixes with stuttering, or anything else. However, it does seem better, and we'll talk about that in a moment. As far as Apple CarPlay and whether or not it's still disconnecting, well, it will take a few days to know if this is actually fixed, as it seemed to get worse over time. But with iOS 26.5 and 26.5.1, it definitely became problematic where it was dropping off every few minutes or so. So hopefully it's resolved here, but let me know how it's going for you so far. But again, we'll talk about it in the weekend follow-up video. One thing I noticed that was not fixed is the wallpaper dimming bug. So again, nice and saturated here, swipe home, and it desaturates. So this does seem like it's fixed more in iOS 27, but not in iOS 26 for some reason. As far as stuttering, again, it looks like they may have resolved this, but this can return after a few days, but it seems okay so far. Usually it would occur if we lock the screen, swipe up, scroll over, but it seems like it's much better. But again, it will take a few days to know what that's like. As far as anything else, well, I did test a few different things, such as the Pixel AirDrop on Android 17. So if we go in here, and then maybe we go in here, and then we go to share today's wallpaper, we'll go into AirDrop and then again go into Quick Share on the Pixel. It should show up here as an option in just a moment. There it is, and we should be able to share. So it looks like this hasn't changed. It's still working properly, and it's working across more devices now with Pixels and S25 Ultra, S26 Ultra, for example. As far as those security updates, well, there's quite a few to talk about. So if we go in here, we'll take a look at Apple's security release website. And if we scroll down, you'll see that we have the latest update here with iOS 26.5.2 and iPadOS 26.5.2. Again, mentioning older devices as well. Apple did not release iOS 26.5.1 to all devices, just the iPhone 17 models and iPhone Air. If we go into this, I went through all the updates, and there's over 25 security updates, making this very important. Everything from the kernel here, we'll keep scrolling. You'll see there's quite a few things, such as WebKit, the underlying code for Safari, for example, and much more. So for example, with this one, the impact was processing maliciously crafted web content may lead to memory corruption. To fix it, or the description was, a use after free issue was addressed with improved memory management. Then we have the CVE numbers and those that actually submitted the bug, and I'm glad to see many of these things have been patched. So again, WebKit, a lot of different patches there. If we keep scrolling, you'll see it goes on, WebRTC, and then there's some additional recognition at the end. But again, very important as far as that goes. When it comes to other releases, we did get iOS 26.6 Beta 3 today. As I mentioned before, this is still a bug here where the overall size seems to be much larger than it actually is, but we did already receive that. But as far as the next updates, many people have been asking, where is iOS 27 Beta 3? Based on what we've seen in the past, I would expect that probably around next Monday or so. According to what we had last year, we had the public beta released later in the month of July, around the 24th, so maybe we'll see something like that, or they could release it in a few days. We just don't know just yet. But we could see that very soon, and as soon as I know, I'll let you know as well. That said, iOS 26.6 Beta 4 or RC will probably be next week as well. And then of course we'll have the public release sometime in late July, along with iOS 27's public release sometime in September around the iPhone 18 launch. That's what I would expect there. I would not expect too many more iOS 26 updates. We could see iOS 26.7 of course, but again, that's going to push into the iOS 27 release date as well. When it comes to if you should install iOS 26.5.2, well, absolutely if you're on iOS 26.5 or 26.5.1, as you weren't able to get some of these security updates. So this is a very critical update, especially with all those security patches. So again, if we scroll back here, many security updates, about 29 in total, as I mentioned before. And if you were wondering if you should install iOS 26.6 or iOS 27 betas, at this point you could do that, but I typically don't recommend it unless you have a secondary device. Usually they're working on some bugs. 26.6 seems to be okay, but 27 does have a little ways to go, so I would at least wait for the public beta there. As far as overall performance, I did mention that some already. It seems to be pretty smooth. ProMotion seems nice and fast this time around with just general scrolling, going from page to page. Again, I haven't seen much stutter or anything yet, but that could take a few days and we'll talk about it in the weekend follow-up video. As far as opening different applications, it seems nice and fast. Going in and out of those, you'll see no real issues there. Going into Mercury weather, no problems whatsoever. So again, things seem nice and fast going into the camera or whatever you need to use it for. So again, you'll see it's nice and fast. As far as the overall heat, well, this phone is nice and cool to the touch already, even after installing the update. Usually it takes a while to index and run things in the background, but so far it's nice and cool. But let's go ahead and run benchmarks and then take a look at the overall temperatures and thermals. If we take a look at the thermals on the iPhone 17 Pro running iOS 26.5.2, the hottest point we're right around 36 degrees Celsius. So we were around 34 degrees at the same point with 26.5.1, but it's definitely still processing some in the background and of course running Geekbench. So we'll give it just a moment to complete and then we'll take a look at the Geekbench scores. Benchmarks completed, and we have 3,779 for single core, 9,869 for multi-core. Now we typically will see over 10,000 here, but we have to give it a few days for things to start processing and stop processing in the background. And if we take a look at the CPU history, you'll see I ran this twice with pretty low results before. So it looks like it's picking up, but again, it's well within the margin of error. When it comes to battery life, well, it really depends how you're using your device. I've been using mine full time with iOS 27 Beta 2. So let's go ahead and take a look. If we go to settings, and I'll put 26.5.1 here as a comparison on the left. We'll go to battery health. I'm at 100% capacity with 121 cycles, and battery life on this beta is not really that great. But on the public version, it was okay. It just depends on who you ask. But the other day, I had 3 hours and 19 minutes of screen active time, 58 minutes of screen idle time, and used 74% of the battery. So it barely gets me through the day on the beta, but again, it is a beta. Compared to the public versions, though, that seems to be doing a lot better. When it comes to overall storage, let's go ahead and take a look. We'll compare it with iOS 26.6 Beta 3. We'll go into settings. We'll go back here, go to general, and then iPhone storage. Wait for it to load, and then at the bottom, you'll see here iOS is taking up 23.48 gigabytes compared to 21.99 on the 26.6 Beta 3 update, but Apple Intelligence is taking up a little more. That always seems to be the case on this particular device. Maybe I ran a couple things, but again, 23.48 total, but the OS itself is 14.26. When it comes to the overall system data, this goes up and down as needed. This will usually go down to about 1 gigabyte and up to 60, depending on how much storage you have available. But if it's staying higher than 60, I would probably try a couple things, maybe reboot the phone or something along those lines. But it seems okay overall, and it's working fine for me right now. And so that's everything with iOS 26.5.1. Now, why they aren't utilizing the security updates, you'll see here if we go to privacy and security, scroll to the bottom where we have background security improvements. If it's only that, I'm not sure why they're not pushing those just separately. It seems like that would make more sense, but at this point, they're pushing out a full update. Let me know if you've noticed any differences, though, with iOS 26.5.2 in the comments below. And of course, I'll link this wallpaper in the description like I normally do. If you haven't subscribed already, though, please subscribe. And if you enjoyed the video, please give it a like. As always, thanks for watching. This is Aaron. I'll see you next time.